Billionaire sees Waitress selling her wedding ring for medicine. What he did next changed her fate forever. What if the smallest act of desperation could change two lives forever? On a cold Tuesday evening in downtown Chicago, 34-year-old Elena Martinez stood outside Murphy's pawn shop, her grandmother's wedding ring trembling in her palm. The delicate gold band with tiny diamonds had survived the Great Depression, 2 wars, and 3 generations of women who'd worn it with pride. Now, under the harsh glow of a streetlight, Elena was about to trade it for her daughter's insulin. Inside the shop, the owner barely looked up as he offered her $200, enough for maybe 10 days of medicine. Elena's eyes filled with tears as she nodded, knowing her 7-year-old Sophia needed this more than she needed memories. But what Elena didn't know was that across the street, 42-year-old billionaire businessman James Crawford sat in his car, watching this heartbreaking scene unfold. Where are you watching from tonight? And have you ever witnessed a moment that completely changed your perspective? James had built Crawford Industries from nothing, starting with a small tech company in his garage 15 years ago. Tonight, he just left another board meeting where they discussed quarterly profits that could fund entire cities. But watching Elena through his car window, none of that mattered. He'd grown up poor himself, raised by a single mother who'd often chosen between groceries and electricity bills. The sight of Elena's tears brought back memories of his own mother crying over unpaid medical bills. Elena worked double shifts at Rosie's Diner, a small family restaurant that had been serving the neighborhood for 30 years. She'd started there right after Sophia was born, when her husband Miguel had died in a construction accident. The insurance money had long since disappeared into medical bills and living expenses. Elena was proud, never asking for handouts, always finding a way to make ends meet. Her co-workers loved her warm smile and the way she remembered every regular customer's order. She had a gift for making people feel welcomed, even when her own world was falling apart. Sophia had been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes 2 years ago, turning Elena's life upside down. The monthly cost of insulin, test strips, and doctor visits consumed almost her entire paycheck. Elena had already sold her car, moved to a small apartment, and picked up extra shifts wherever she could find them. The wedding ring was her last valuable possession, the final thread connecting her to the family she'd lost and the love she'd known. James watched as Elena emerged from the pawn shop, clutching the small bundle of cash. She walked slowly, each step heavy with the weight of what she'd just sacrificed. Something inside James stirred, a combination of anger at the world's unfairness and a deep recognition of his own mother's struggles. He'd promised himself years ago that if he ever had the power to help people like his mother, he would. Elena returned to the diner for her evening shift, trying to hide her red eyes behind her usual cheerful demeanor. Mrs. Henderson, an elderly regular, noticed immediately. "Honey, you look like you've been crying. Everything all right?" Elena forced a smile, refilling the woman's coffee cup with steady hand despite her trembling heart. "Just tired, Mrs. H. You know how it is." But Mrs. Henderson knew better. She'd been coming to Rose's for 8 years, watching Elena grow from a nervous new mother into one of the strongest women she'd ever known. The dinner rush was brutal that night. Elena moved between tables like a dancer, balancing plates and conversations with practiced ease. But every time she passed a window, she found herself looking toward the pawn shop, wondering if some stranger would buy her grandmother's ring and never know the love it had represented. The weight of her sacrifice settled deeper into her chest with each passing hour. James sat in his car for over an hour, wrestling with an idea that seemed both simple and impossible. He'd built his fortune by making calculated decisions, but this felt different. This wasn't about business or profit margins. This was about a mother selling her last precious memory to keep her child alive. As Elena's shift continued, James made a decision that would change both of their lives in ways neither could imagine. The next morning, Elena arrived at the diner exhausted but grateful. Sophia had gotten her insulin the night before, and that's all that mattered. She'd promised her daughter they'd be okay, even if she had to work 3 jobs to keep that promise. What Elena didn't know was that James had spent the entire night researching his situation. Through careful inquiries and a private investigator, he'd learned about Sophia's condition, Elena's financial struggles, and a remarkable reputation she'd built in the neighborhood for her kindness and work ethic. James entered Rosie's Diner at exactly 9:30 a.m., choosing a corner booth where he could observe without drawing attention. Elena approached with her usual warm smile, coffee pot in hand. "Good morning. What can I get you started with?" Her voice carried a musical quality despite her exhaustion, and James noticed the way she genuinely seemed to care about his answer. He ordered simple breakfast fare, watching as she moved through her morning routine with other customers. Everyone seemed to know her name, asking about Sophia or sharing small pieces of their own lives. During a quiet moment, James overheard Elena on the phone with Sophia's school nurse. Sophia had felt dizzy during recess, and Elena's voice filled with worry as she explained she'd be there immediately. She hung up, panic flashing across her face before she composed herself. "Mrs. Patterson," she called to the manager, "I need to run to Sophia's school for a few minutes. She's having some trouble." The older woman nodded understandingly. "Take all the time you need, honey." James watched Elena rush out, her maternal instincts overriding everything else. In that moment, he saw his own mother, who'd dropped everything whenever he'd needed her. The memory was crystal clear. His mother leaving word to pick him up when he'd broken his arm, knowing she might lose wages they couldn't afford to lose. The parallel was heartbreaking and beautiful. When Elena returned 30 minutes later, relief evident on her face, James made his move. As he refilled his coffee, he spoke quietly. "Excuse me, miss, I couldn't help but overhear that you have a daughter with diabetes." Elena's guard went up immediately, protective instincts kicking in. "Yes. Is there something wrong with that?" James realized his approach needed to be different. "Not at all. My business has a scholarship program for families dealing with medical challenges. I wondered if you might be interested in learning more." Elena studied his face, searching for ulterior motives. She'd learned to be cautious with strangers offering help. "What kind of scholarship?" James handed her a simple business card. "It covers medical expenses for children with chronic conditions. No strings attached, just families helping families." The card read Crawford Foundation with a local phone number. Elena had never heard of it, but something in James's eyes seemed genuine. "Why would you help us?" Elena asked, her voice barely above a whisper. James smiled softly, thinking of his mother. "Because someone should have helped my family when I was young, and they didn't. Maybe I can be what we needed back then." If this moment touched your heart, please give the video a thumbs up. Elena clutched the business card, torn between hope and disbelief. Could this stranger really be offering what seemed impossible? As James left the diner, Elena stared at the card, wondering if she dared to dream that her nightmare might finally be ending. That evening, Elena sat at her kitchen table, staring at the business card while Sophia did homework nearby. She'd looked up Crawford Industries online and discovered James's incredible success story, but that only made her more suspicious. Why would someone with billions of dollars care about a single mother and her diabetic daughter? Elena had learned the hard way that when something seemed too good to be true, it usually was. Sophia noticed her mother's distraction. "Mama, are you okay? You seem worried." Elena's heart clenched. At 7 years old, Sophia already carried more awareness of their struggles than any child should. "I'm fine, Mija. Just thinking about work." Sophia nodded, returning to her math homework with the mature acceptance of a child who'd learned not to ask too many questions about money. The next day brought Elena's worst nightmare. Sophia collapsed during lunch at school, her blood sugar dangerously low. The paramedics rushed her to the hospital, where doctors explained that Sophia needed immediate treatment and would require more frequent monitoring. The estimated cost sent Elena into a tailspin. Even with the money from her grandmother's ring, she couldn't afford the recommended care plan. Sitting in the hospital waiting room, Elena felt more alone than ever. She'd call in sick to the diner, losing a full day's wages she couldn't spare. Medical bills from this emergency would pile on top of everything else. She pulled out James's business card, her hand shaking with desperation and pride warring in her chest. She'd sworn never to accept charity, but watching Sophia hooked up to machines changed everything. With trembling fingers, Elena dialed the number. James answered on the second ring. "Crawford Foundation, this is James." His voice was gentle, lacking the corporate coldness she'd expected. "This is Elena Martinez from Rosie's Diner. You gave me your card yesterday." She paused, fighting back tears. "My daughter is in the hospital, and I don't know what else to do." "What hospital?" James asked immediately. "Children's Memorial." Elena's voice broke. "Mr. Crawford, I've always taken care of my family myself. But Sophia needs help I can't give her. If your foundation is real, if you really help families like mine, please, I'm begging you." The words tasted bitter in her mouth, but her love for Sophia made pride irrelevant. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, James said simply. "Don't make any medical decisions until I arrive. And Elena, you're not begging. You're being a mother. There's nothing more honorable than that." After hanging up, Elena sat in stunned silence. In her experience, wealthy people made promises they never kept. But something in Jamesy's voice suggested this might be different. True to his word, James arrived exactly 20 minutes later. He didn't come with an entourage or fanfare, just a simple man in jeans and a sweater who asked about Sophia's condition with genuine concern. When the doctor explained the treatment plan and costs, James listened intently, asking detailed questions about Sophia's long-term needs. Elena watched in amazement as he took notes, treating her daughter's health like the most important business deal of his life. Have you ever faced something like this, where pride and desperation collided? Let us know in the comments. As James finished speaking with the medical team, Elena realized her life was about to change in ways she'd never imagined possible. James turned to Elena with a determination that reminded her of Miguel when he'd promised to always protect their family. "Elena, I want to establish a medical trust fund for Sophia. It will cover all her diabetes care, medications, doctor visits, and any emergencies. For life." Elena's knees nearly gave way. She gripped the hospital chair, certain she'd misheard. "I'm sorry, what did you say?" "Sophia will never have to worry about medical care again," James continued. "The fund will be managed by my foundation, but it belongs to her. I've also spoken with the billing department here. Every expense from today is covered." Elena's tears came freely now, 18 months of desperate fear finally releasing. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do this for us?" James sat down beside her, his expensive suit looking out of place in the sterile waiting room. "My mother died when I was 16 because she couldn't afford her cancer treatment. She postponed care for months, trying to save money for my college fund instead. By the time I convinced her to see a doctor, it was too late." His voice carried old pain that money had never healed. "I swore I'd never let another child lose a parent to medical poverty. But watching you sell your wedding ring, I realize I've been thinking too small. Children shouldn't lose their parents, but parents shouldn't sacrifice everything for their children's survival either." Elena understood now. This wasn't charity from a wealthy stranger. This was one survivor helping another. "Your mother would be proud," she said softly. James smiled, the first genuine smile Elena had seen from him. "I hope so. She always said success meant nothing if you kept it all to yourself." Dr. Martinez, no relation to Elena, approached with Sophia's test results. "Good news. Sophia is stable and responding well to treatment. With proper monitoring and care, she should live a completely normal life." Elena looked at James with overwhelming gratitude. "This is really happening? Sophia will be okay." Dr. Martinez nodded. "The trust fund Mr. Crawford established will ensure she receives the best possible care. You won't need to worry about costs anymore." When Sophia woke up, Elena explained that a kind man had helped make sure she'd always have her medicine. Sophia, with the simple wisdom of childhood, looked at James and said, "Thank you for helping my mama stop crying at night." James felt his throat tighten. Elena had hidden her tears so well, but children always knew. James spent the next hour getting to know Sophia, discussing her favorite books and dreams of becoming a veterinarian. He was amazed by her bright spirit despite everything she'd endured. "You know what?" he told her. "I have a friend who's a veterinarian. When you're older, maybe you can visit her clinic." Sophia's eyes lit up with possibility. As they prepared to leave the hospital, Elena pulled James aside. "I can never repay you for this." James shook his head. "Elena, you've already repaid me. Watching you care for Sophia reminds me why I work so hard. Money means nothing unless it can protect the people we love." If you've been enjoying this story, subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming tales. Elena realized this wasn't an ending but a beginning. For the first time in years, she could imagine a future where Sophia's dreams mattered more than medical bills. But James had one more surprise that would complete their transformation. 3 months later, Elena received a phone call that would complete the circle of kindness James had started. "Elena, This is Patricia from Crawford Industries. Mr. Crawford would like to offer you a position as Community Outreach Coordinator for the Crawford Foundation. Your job will be helping other families navigate medical crises. Elena sat down, overwhelmed. He wants me to work for his foundation. Actually, Patricia continued, he wants you to help run it. Your experience and compassion make you uniquely qualified to identify families in need and connect them with resources. The salary would be triple what you're making at the diner, with full medical benefits for you and Sophia. Elena thought about all the families she'd met in hospital waiting rooms, all the mothers she'd seen crying over bills they couldn't pay. She could help them the way James had helped her. On Elena's first day at the Crawford Foundation, James showed her around the offices. "There's one more thing," he said, leading her to a small display case near the reception area. Inside sat a familiar gold ring with tiny diamonds. Elena gasped, "You bought it back." James nodded. "Your grandmother's ring belongs with your family. Consider it a welcome gift." Elena slipped the ring onto her finger, feeling connected to her heritage and her future simultaneously. 6 months into her new job, Elena had helped over 40 families access medical care they thought impossible. She'd learned that James quietly funded similar programs across the country, but he preferred to work through local coordinators who understood their communities. "People trust stories more than statistics," he'd explained. "You've lived what they're living. That makes all the difference." Sophia thrived with her new stability. Her diabetes was perfectly controlled, and she'd started violin lessons, something Elena never could have afforded before. More importantly, Sophia had stopped worrying about her mother's tears. She'd returned to being a carefree 7-year-old with big dreams and unlimited possibilities. One evening, as Elena tucked Sophia into bed, her daughter asked, "Mama, why did Mr. James help us?" Elena thought carefully about her answer. "Sometimes, Mija, people who've been hurt learn to heal others. Mr. James lost his mama when he was young, so he helps other children keep theirs." Sophia nodded solemnly. "When I'm grown up, I want to help people too." Elena smiled, knowing Sophia would keep this circle of kindness spinning forward. James often stopped by Elena's office to hear about the families she was helping. Their friendship had grown from that moment of crisis into something deeper, two people who understood that true wealth meant having the power to ease others' suffering. Elena's grandmother's ring caught the light as she typed reports about successful interventions, each one representing a family that wouldn't have to choose between love and survival. The pawn shop where Elena had sold her ring eventually closed, replaced by a community health center funded by the Crawford Foundation. Elena kept a photo of the old storefront in her office, a reminder of how quickly life could change when kindness met desperation. If you enjoyed this story, please remember to leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales. Sometimes the smallest act of compassion creates ripples that change the world, one family at a time.